just point to the logo on my chest and tell them, Slam me, ego, Slam me, ego, Slam me, ego, Slam me, hey. Hit it up hard, hit it with a strike. From the national anthem to the bottom of the night. Amen. Slam me, ego, Slam me, ego, Slam me, ego, Slam me, hey. You already know what's up. What's that? Another home run. We should know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 336 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden here with you on this Monday, February 13th, 2023. Hopefully everyone is doing well. They enjoyed their weekend. Football season is over. The Super Bowl is over. And now we can get to baseball, right? We can get to the Padres. We already have Xander Bogaerts. Some of that video circulating on social media of him at spring training in Peoria already. Fernando Tatis Jr., he is already in spring training. I was seeing on an Instagram story, it looks like he is definitely a Nike athlete now. Bunch of Nike shoes and all that. So that'll be fun to watch him, obviously, when he gets back on the field, and that's a big storyline in spring training. Joe Musgrove's there already. Seth Lugo had to report today. Nabil Chrismat had to report today. Who else am I missing? Darvish is already going to Japan. Who are the other pitchers? I'm sure Nick Martinez is there. But today was the report date for pitchers. Brett Sullivan had to report. Today was the report date for pitchers and catchers to be at spring training. Pitchers and catchers that are going to be participating in the World Baseball Classic. Regular pitchers and catchers, so like Austin Nola, Luis Camposano, guys that aren't going to be in the World Baseball Classic, their report date, I believe, is on either Wednesday or Thursday. It's later this week. And then we get spring trainings rolling on February 24th. So thank you for joining. The main thing I wanted to do today, and obviously questions, comments, you can put them in the chat. Great way to support the channel is the super chat button. But a great well, it is a great discussion. My main discussion that I wanted to have today was the Padres opening day roster, kind of predicting what that roster will look like. So I will get to that. I did want to point out that Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune earlier today, he did put out a piece on some notes. Something about Drew Pomerantz was in there, and then there was some starting pitching notes. The Padres, according to Kevin Acee's sources, have had recent contact with the agents for both Michael Wacha and Cole Hamels. Michael Wacha, there was that report out that he was looking for 2 years, 30 mil, so like $15 million a year. And that is too much for Michael Wacha. And I guess he has lowered his sights a little bit. That's what the article was saying. And so I'd be interested in Michael Wacha on like a 1-year deal. I don't want to be giving this guy, 3-4 years. And Cole Hamels, I mean, he's definitely past his prime, and maybe a minor league deal for Cole Hamels. I don't think he's a guy that I'd be, wanting to give this major league guaranteed deal to. He would just be a question mark. Like, I'd like to add him, San Diego guy. I'd like to add him and be an option, but it's not like I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is a great high upside move. He would just be another guy that could probably eat some innings and compete alongside Julio Teheran for like a 6-starter spot if the Padres go to a 6-starter. Bob Melvin, he spoke to the media earlier today, and one of the things that he was saying was that the Padres, they have not decided on if they will go to a 5-man rotation or if they're going to go to a 6-man. That has not been decided yet. Maybe they go to a 6-man, but they're going to need, I think they'd have to bring in another starter for that to happen, or they would need Martinez and Lugo to pitch really well and Morhone to pitch really well. There's going to have to be a reason why they go to a 6-man rotation. It's not going to be the Padres just saying, well, Let's have Julio Teheran be the sixth starter, even though he sucked in spring training, just to have six guys and give guys, another day of rest. I think they'll do five men if there's not a reason to go to a six man, if that makes sense. And that leads me into my first Padres spring training roster projection, my first spring training roster, or my first opening day roster prediction. I'll probably do a few of these throughout spring training. I figured the first day of spring training for the Padres, first day Padres pitchers, catchers that they are reporting, World Baseball Classic pitchers, catchers reporting to camp. I figured it would be a great day to do my first opening day roster prediction. So let's get that started. We'll start with the catchers, then the infield, then designated hitter, then the outfield, then starting pitchers, and then relievers. So starting with the catchers, I think it'll be Austin Nola as the starting catcher. And I think even if Luis Camposano has a great spring training, I think they'd still go with Austin Nola as the starting catcher, just based on familiarity. And I think Nola has deserved that. I don't think Camposano, if he has a good spring, I don't think he deserves to be the starting catcher right out of the gate. I think he can eventually be the starting catcher, but I don't think he deserves it right out of the gate. So Nola and then Campy. A big question in spring training is what are we going to see from Luis Camposano? Um, is he going to earn significant playing time this year, or is he just going to be filling in for Nola a couple days a week to give Nola some time off? And he's playing catcher for the Padres because he has to. Is it going to be because he has to, or is it going to be because he's earned it and he's actually like starting not just two times a week or that Sunday day game? Or the Wednesday day game. No, he's starting when Musgrove's on the mound. Can Darvish trust him? Maybe Darvish just goes to Nola the whole year. He's different, right? With all the pitches that he has. But is Snell pitching to Campy? Is Martinez and Lugo pitching to Campy at some point this year? I think that's going to be something to watch for, obviously, in spring training and going into the beginning of this Padres regular season. So those are the two for me. Brett Sullivan, he'll be in El Paso. I think, what's his name? Pedro Severino, the catcher that they signed to, I think it was a minor league deal, invite to spring training. He's caught in the big leagues before for the Orioles, for the Nationals, multiple teams. He has the experience. I think they'll put him in AAA with Brett Sullivan, and he can come up if something happens. So those are the two catchers I have, Nola and Campy. On the infield, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Ha-Seong Kim, Jake Cronenworth, and Brandon Dixon. Manny, obviously, starting third baseman. A question that we have, that a lot of Padres fans have this spring training is he going to get an extension done, or the Padres going to work something out? It seems like he'd want something done before the season starts, just to not distract him from that, because he told the media at FanFest, an extension, getting a new contract done, that's not going to be my top priority when the season starts. And it shouldn't be, right? His priority should be helping his team win on the field. So hopefully they can get one done before the season begins. Bogart's obviously the starting shortstop. He'll be the shortstop for this year, I would think. Ha-Seong Kim starting second baseman as of now. Jake Cronenworth starting first baseman as of now. With the shift going away, having first baseman, second baseman on the right side. There's not going to be a shortstop on that side of the field. There's not going to be third baseman on that side of the field. You're not going to have Manny Machado in short right field, right? You're not going to have Xander Bogaerts playing second base and having Cronenworth play in shallow right field, right? Like we saw at times last year where we had a shortstop playing on the right. If you're looking at it from, let's say you're sitting in the stands from behind home plate, you had the shortstop on the right side of second base, and you had Cronenworth playing in shallow right field, and you had the first baseman at first. You're not going to see that. It's going to be just like you're going to watch a high school baseball game. Shortstop's playing at shortstop, third baseman's playing at third base, second baseman's playing at second base, first baseman's playing at first base. They can shift, like the second baseman and the first baseman, they can shift on that side of their base, but they have to be on the dirt. So I think you're going to see less of those type of shift. I think you're going to see most players playing regular positions. I think. Brandon Dixon, I have getting that bench infield spot partly because Eggy Rosario. Maybe I would have given it to Brandon Dixon anyway, but part of the reason why I'm giving it to Dixon is because Eggy Rosario is going to be out. He had that fractured ankle that he suffered while he was training this offseason, unfortunately, and that was something I was looking forward to. The Eggy Rosario Brandon Dixon competition for one of the bench infield spots. I was gonna be looking towards it. I was looking forward to that in spring training, but if Brandon Dixon plays okay, I think he's going to be the bench infielder. Um, and there's other guys like Matt Carpenter that can play the infield, right? Uh, and we'll get to him and Cruz here in a sec. But yeah, Dixon, he seems like the main option. Like who are the other options? Max Schrock, I think is his name, that the Padres signed on. I think it was a minor league deal earlier this offseason. He played for the Reds a little bit at the major league level, but it seems like it's Brandon Dixon. Brandon Dixon can play the outfield too, so that helps. I think he DH'd a little bit in September last year as well. If he's DHing at the beginning of the season, something went wrong, right? Injuries happened, and you obviously don't want that to happen. I don't see him DHing, but he can do that. He can DH, can play infield, can play outfield, so that will help him. The versatility, AJ Preller loves the versatility. I'm sure the coaching staff loves the versatility, so I see Dixon making the roster. Um, my two DHs, Matt Carpenter and Nelson Cruz. You could have Matt Carpenter in the outfield. You could have Matt Carpenter in the infield. I don't know how much of outfield time Matt Carpenter is going to get in spring training or how much outfield time he's going to get at the beginning of the regular season with Tatis being suspended for the first 20 games. Um, but when Tatis comes back, like Carpenter, he's DH. Carpenter, Cruz, the Padres, they want them to be a platoon DH. They want that's the situation that they want there. With Carpenter hitting against righties and Nelson Cruz hitting against lefties. That makes a good DH platoon. Like both guys, Carpenter has much better numbers against righties than lefties. Cruz has much better numbers against lefties than righties. So it makes sense. So not a whole lot discussion there on the DHs. Like that's who's on the roster. They signed him to major league deals. I love the Nelson Cruz deal. How can you hate that deal? Like if he sucks, it's $1 million. Like you're not. It's not like it's Eric Hosmer where it's $13 million, right? And he's taking up a roster spot. I know the Padres, they still have to pay most of the contract for him not to play for the Padres, but I'd rather have Matt Carpenter be on the roster, right? I'd rather have Nelson Cruz here on the roster. So that's the DH situation. The outfield, I have four outfielders. Jose Azocar is not one of them. I have Juan Soto, Trent Grisham, David Dahl, and Adam Engel. I don't have Azocar because I think Adam Engel is just a better version of Jose Azocar. Adam Engel has speed. He's good, really good defensively in center field. Uh, he has he's better. I think he's a little bit better offensively at the plate. Obviously, at the plate, that's what offense is. Um, I think Adam Engel is better. He's a better overall player than Jose Azocar is. So I think Azocar will probably start the season in El Paso at the minor league level. And then Soto obviously playing probably left field. He has said that he wants to probably play at one position. And so I think Soto would be in left, Grish in center, and then David Dahl in right field or Adam Engel in right field. I think it depends. David Dahl, I think he's a lefty, right? Let me double check that. David Dahl, yeah, he's a lefty. So maybe if a righty's on the mound, they have David Dahl in right field because Engel is a righty. So if a lefty's on the mound, they go with Engel at the plate, and they go with Nelson Cruz as a DH. And then if a lefty's on the mound, they go with Carpenter, or no. If a righty's on the mound, they go with Carpenter, and they go with Dahl. lefty, they go with Cruz, and they go with Angle. Hopefully I got that right. I think I got the platoons right there. So that's who I have. Again, I don't have a Zokar on. I think he can help the team at some point in the season, with the speed and all that. But Preller, he went out and got another Jose Zokar, probably a better Jose Zokar in Adam Engel, and a guy he has more major league outfield experience than Jose Zokar does. And I think a Zokar, he has plenty of options remaining, I think. I'm gonna double check that with the Zokar here. Hold on one second here. I'm going to Fangraphs to double check. A Zokar, yeah, he has 2 more options left, so they can set him down. So that's the outfield. Starting pitching situation, I'm going to go with Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Martinez, Lugo. There's not a whole lot to elaborate on there. We know. Oh, is that a voice crack there? Wow. Sorry. Um, Darvish, obviously the ace. Musgrove, another ace. Snell, hopefully he has a better first half, more consistent first half. And consistent, I mean consistent in a good way. Has a consistent first half, more consistent season overall, and he'll be the 3 starter, and then Martinez and Lugo 4-5. I don't know if they're going to go with the 6-man. Like I said earlier, Bob Melvin told the media that they have not made a decision on if they're going to have a 5-man rotation or if they're going to have a 6-man. But these are the 5 starters. Like the Padres, they agreed with Seth Lugo that when he signed here, he was going to get a chance to start in spring training, and he was going to get a chance to start at the beginning of the regular season. They didn't guarantee that he was going to start the whole year, but they gave that guarantee. So he's going to be in there. Nick Martinez is going to be in there, obviously assuming health. And Lugo, he's going to be pitching for Team Puerto Rico in the WBC. So when I'm watching those games, because I'm a big WBC guy, I'm going to love watching that. When I'm watching Seth Lugo, I'm hoping to see him pitch well, obviously. I'm just what I more care about is him being healthy. And then pitch well when he comes back and he's doing pitch comm and all that, communicating with the catchers and going into the season, he's pitching really well. WBC, you want him to pitch well, but then if he comes back to spring training and then sucks, what does that really mean? In spring training, I'm not saying like if he dominates spring training, he's going to be dominating starting as a starting pitcher in the rotation when the regular season starts. But I'd rather see him pitching well in spring training going into the season, right, than him sucking. So we'll see how he pitches. I don't think he's going to remain in the rotation the entire year, or at least in the first 5. And I don't see them going with a 6-man rotation the whole season. So I think Nick Martinez has a better chance, as I've said many times here over the past few weeks, past few months in this offseason. I think Martinez has a better chance of staying in the rotation long term this season than Seth Lugo does. So those are the 5: Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Martinez, and Lugo. As for the bullpen, Josh Hader, he's the closer. We know that. I don't expect him to come back after 2023, so just get the most that you can out of him. That's what my message would be if I was AJ Preller to Bob Melvin. Just get the most that you can out of Josh Hader this year. Hopefully as a career year, and then he's a free agent. Okay, wish you the best. Hopefully he makes the final out and the Padres win the World Series. And the Josh Hader tenure with the Padres will be a success. I don't see him coming back. But as for this year, he's the closer. They brought back Robert Suarez on that 5-year deal. He's going to be the closer some games this year, right? I don't think Hader's going to close every game, every win, right? And hopefully there's a lot of them for the Padres this year. Suarez can close, and then he'll be the closer probably next year. That's why they gave him that contract, I would think. And I like the contract. He's pitching really, really well. I like what I've seen out of him so far. Luis Garcia, I think he'll be probably the 7th inning guy. Drew Pomerantz, I have him in my bullpen for the Padres opening day roster. Drew Pomerantz, he's likely to be limited at the beginning of spring training here, but he is expected to be ready for opening day. He's expected to be ready by opening day. That's what I was reading in the Union Tribune from Kevin Acee this morning. That's what I think Bob Melvin told the media this morning. So that's good that he's going to be ready by opening day, but I can't sit here and say expect greatness and expect great health out of Drew Pomerantz in 2023 because we just haven't seen it. He's going to have to show it to us on the field, on the mound, that he can stay healthy for us to say, yeah, give this guy, just send this guy in for seventh, eighth inning role, for a seventh, eighth inning role and have him overtake Luis Garcia. He's going to have to show that he can be healthy. What was his last season that he had over 40 appearances was 2019. 2020, yeah, that was a short year. But he still pitched, yeah, okay, 20 games in a 60-game season. 2021, 27 games, right? He got hurt. I think it was the flexor tendon surgery that he had. So I can't rely on Drew, but I think he can survive spring training and he'll be on the opening day roster. They're paying him a good amount of money, so hopefully he can show up this year. Tim Hill, great guy. I mean, give this guy he needs to be the Padres representative for what's the like Walter Payton Award for Major League Baseball? Is that I should know this. It's the Clemente Award, right? Roberto Clemente Award. That should be the Padres finalist this year. Should be Tim Hill with all of the events that he's going to at every Padres offseason event. Like he was there. The blood drive, obviously Fan Fest, but other stuff. He's there all the time. And I'm not just talking about Fan Fest weekend where all the players were in the community, which was amazing. That was great to see. But I'm talking like things in the off season, like months. He stays here in San Diego. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, Tim Hill, I think he's going to have the same role that he did last year. Steven Wilson, he'll probably have the same role that he had the majority of last year. I know at the beginning of the year he was some high leverage innings that he was tasked with from Bob Melvin because he was pitching really well. But I think what innings was he pitching? Kind of like sixth inning, seventh inning sometimes last year at some points. I think you could see that sixth inning after a starter goes 5, you could see Wilson come in. So I see him being in the bullpen. And then Adrian Morejon, hopefully he stays healthy, right? That's a question mark with him. I think now, look, we don't know if they're going to go to a 6-man. I think if they do, he could be a candidate to start then. Or they could have Tehran or Honeywell, someone like that. Wilmer Font, someone, Jay Groom, have someone like that be the 6-man. And they could have Adrian Morejon, even if there isn't a 6-man rotation. They could have Morejon piggyback Lugo or piggyback Snell because we know he has some slow starts to seasons. Piggyback Martinez. So maybe we see that with Morejon, but he's on the roster if he's healthy. And Jose Lopez, I see him getting that 8th and final spot in the bullpen because he's a Rule 5 guy. I'd be lying to you if I sat here and said that I know a bunch about Jose Lopez, but it seems like the Padres really like him. And so he's going to be on the roster. If he's not on the roster, that means that they sent him back to Tampa because that's what the Rule 5 is. You have to have him on your team for the entirety of the season. If you don't, then you have to give him back. I believe that's what it is. You have to give him back to the team that you got him from in the Rule 5 draft, which happened at the winter meetings in San Diego earlier this offseason. So that's the bullpen. So just to recap, catchers, Nola and Campy. This is my first roster prediction. First day of spring training here. Nola and Campy for the catchers. Manny, Kim, Bogarts, Crony, and Dixon in the infield. Carpenter and Cruz at DH. Great platoon there. Soto, Grish, Dahl, and Engel in the outfield. Darvish, Musgrove, Snell, Martinez, and Lugo in the rotation. And the bullpen, Hader, Suarez, Garcia, Pomerantz, Hill, Wilson, Morejon, and Jose Lopez. If you disagree, who do you disagree with? Let me know here in the YouTube comments. live or on replay, or if you're listening to the podcast, you can let me know on social media at Talking Friars on Twitter or Instagram. Love talking with Padres fans. Any questions that you guys have, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will get to those now or in a little bit after this message from Gaglione's. This episode is sponsored by Gaglione Bros Famous Cheesesteaks and Garlic Fries. Their main location is on Friars Road, and you can visit gaglionebros.com for their menu and contact information. You can also enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and inside Snapdragon Stadium. All right, let's get to the comments in the chat here. Hi, Randall. I'm doing good. How are you? Baseball is right around the corner. How are you not doing good, right? With the anticipation for this season, I'm excited for this year. Charles with the question here, is Josh Hader the closer? Yes, definitely. Yeah. He's I was surprised he wasn't ranked a top 100 player in baseball by MLB Network. I was surprised that he was not ranked in the top 10 for relievers in baseball by MLB Network. Like, I know that the ERA numbers don't look great, but that's because he struggled last year a little bit in parts of the year. But this guy, I mean, if you go through, I'll go through the game logs for Josh Hader. This guy is an elite reliever. You look at the sample size from the past 3 years and what you think he's going to do in 2023, like, he's a top 10 reliever. Yeah, you look at the numbers, like the WAR last year, that's misguiding. Like -1, -1 WAR. The ERA is definitely misguiding. 5.22. That doesn't tell the whole story. Yeah, he sucked when he came to the Padres initially, like giving up home runs to guys that have never hit home runs in the big leagues before, just sucking, just essing the bed against the Nationals back-to-back nights. That outing against the Royals where Will Myers, Will, came into the game and got more outs than Josh Hader did. Like, that's how bad it was. So the ERA is going to be inflated. But if you look at his numbers, beginning of the year, end of the year, postseason, he is a top 10 reliever in baseball. He's like a top 5 reliever in baseball. He's right up there with Edwin Diaz and Emmanuel Clase, I think. So, yeah, you just look at his game logs here. I'll share my screen so you guys can see it. I don't know how great this looks on YouTube here. That's all right. So, Hader, look at the beginning of the year. Did not allow a run in April. In May, did not allow a run. Allowed 3 runs in June. And then that's where it started, right? Middle of July, 3 runs allowed, 6 runs allowed. Then when he got to the Padres, right? The Royals game, that's the one I was talking about earlier. 1 out, 6 runs allowed, 2 walks. Not great. But then he turned it around. That Giants outing where he got that save, and Padres fans that were watching that game, we were like, what the heck? Well, I wasn't. I thought I remember tweeting in that moment that I thought Josh Hader was going to get the save. I have confidence in him, and he got the save. Some people were like, how are you putting him in this situation? Some thought that I remember some people saying that he's not going to pitch in a high leverage situation again in the regular season. Not going to happen. And I totally disagreed with that. And like less than a week later, he was pitching in a high leverage situation. That's why players love Bob Melvin, right? The trust. So he got that save. And then you look at the month of September, he allowed 1 earned run. The last, what is that? The last 9 1/3 innings, the last 10 games, 10 appearances for Josh in the regular season, 9 1/3 innings, no earned runs, 13 strikeouts, a 0 ERA. And then if we go to the postseason and look at his game logs for 2022, no runs in Game 3 of the wild card, no runs Game 2 of the NLDS, no runs Game 3 of the NLDS, no runs Game 4, and then NLCS Game 2, no runs. Did not allow an earned run in the postseason. The last 8 guys that he faced were strikeouts. And MLB Network's going to sit here and say he's not a top 10 reliever. Stop. So, yes, Charles, to answer your question, yeah, he's definitely the closer. JT Snod here with the question, chances for a Profar or Alfaro return? Well, Alfaro, for now, it's 0% because he's on a minor league deal, I believe, with the Red Sox. And he has a chance to make the Red Sox roster as, I think, a backup catcher. Who is the Red Sox starting catcher? Christian Vasquez, they traded, and then he went to the Twins. Reese McGuire is the Red Sox starting catcher, I guess. 9-hitter. So, yeah, Alfaro, non-roster invitee to spring training. He has a chance to be their backup catcher. So, good for him. And then Profar. Yeah, with Profar, I mean, I don't give it a 0% chance, but I think the Padres, they're comfortable going with Adam Engel, with David Dahl, with Zokar, with Grisham, with Soto as the group of guys competing for roster spots. Obviously, Soto and Grisham, they're on the roster. Engel, he's on the roster, I would think. But yeah, they're good with those guys competing for spots, being that group of outfielders. And then they get Tatis back to be an outfielder 20 games in. I don't see them going to Profar before Tatis returns. Unless it's like 1 year and it's like $7 million, like what the deal was going to be if he had opted into that contract. But if he continues to ask for like $15 million a year, he's not going to get it from the Padres, at least. And it doesn't seem like other teams want to give him that, unless it's like a 1-year deal. But even if it is a 1-year deal for like $15 million, there were a lot of teams in baseball, probably most teams in baseball, they might be looking for an outfielder, but they're not desperate for an outfielder because the offseason's over, right? Teams are having players they're having players report to spring training now, this week. So, yeah, spring training, it's here. So the offseason's over. So teams have their rosters pretty built out. So, yeah, Profar's going to have to, just like Michael Wacha, he's going to have to lower that ask for teams to want him and be really interested. There's not a whole lot of interest in Profar right now. I don't see him coming back to the Padres to answer that, Jay. Trevor with the question here. Do you think a Juan Soto extension is coming soon? I don't. No, I think a Manny extension can come soon. I'm definitely hoping it will. I have confidence that a Manny extension will come soon, but a Soto extension, no, I don't have confidence that a Soto extension is going to come. I think that Hector Gomez was kind of trolling Padres fans a little bit. Was that last weekend? When he had that picture, Padres Forever up with Tatis, Manny, and Soto. Maybe he knows that Soto wants to come back to the Padres and he's going to sign an extension at some point in the next couple years. But, like, is it coming soon, like before the season or 2023? I don't think it's coming at all in 2023. Maybe it comes 2023 in like December if Ohtani signs before the extension, but I don't see Soto sign an extension before Ohtani agrees to a contract because he wants that to be at least what he gets. He's younger than Ohtani. He's a better, probably pure hitter than Ohtani is. Boris is his agent. And players, they want to be viewed better than other players. I think Ohtani is a better overall talent than Soto is because of what he can do, pitching, hitting. But I think Soto's a better hitter than Ohtani is, like just pure hitter. And so he has that right. And he's like 4 years younger. There's no reason for him to rush into an extension right now. And there's no reason for the Padres to have that be their priority over Manny Machado right now, if that makes sense. So, no, I don't see that happening. Ryan here with the question, you think we will sign Michael Wacha? I would say no, because there are going to be I think the Cubs might be interested in him. I don't know what other teams are. I would just say no, because I think the Padres are fine with the group that they have. Seeing what Morejon can give them, seeing what Jay Groom can give them, seeing what Ryan Weathers can give them. I still think they believe in Ryan Weathers. Yeah, last year sucked, but hopefully he comes in and he's improved in spring training here. Seeing what Brett Honeywell can give them. Like, they're high on Honeywell. I'm high on Honeywell. I really do love the talent. He just has to stay healthy. Like, when he's out there, he can pitch really well. He just has to stay healthy. Um, what other depth guys? Wilmer Font, like, I think they're okay with the talent that they have and seeing how it plays out. If Walker's still unsigned during the season and they don't like the depth options that they have and Seth Lugo's not working, then I think maybe that will heat up. You know, those talks will heat up between the Padres and Michael Walker. Cole Hamels, maybe they sign him, but that's like a minor league deal. That's like Julio Teheran. Like, okay, we'll sign you, but you're gonna have to pitch really well to make the roster. And if you don't, and you pitch, okay, fine, then you'll probably go to El Paso. And if you're okay with doing the bus rides at that age, then good on you. But I don't see a major league deal coming for Hamels and Waka. I would lean towards no. Yeah, that's probably their plan B. What did AC say? Their plan A is. Let me double check what he said. Their plan A is like it's just the current group of guys that they have. Just seeing what the current group that they have. Plan Okay, here it is. So he says plan A seems to be to work through at least the early portion of spring training, and see where Jay Groom, Brent Honeywell, Reese Kinnear's another guy I forgot to mention, Julio Teheran, and or Ryan Weathers fit. And plan B is it seems like Waka and Cole Hamels. So they don't have those guys are free agents, obviously. They wouldn't have to trade Grisham or Kim to get someone like that. It would just be signing them, spending money. And they have more money, right? Because of the Darvish extension, that's $18 million, the AAV there, instead of what would it have been, like 22 this year, something like that? Over 20 million would have been the AAV. Now it's less than that, so they saved more money. So I think they're like $7 million under the 273 number now. They're at 266.3. I don't know if that takes into account the Darvish extension and the adjusted salary for this year, the AAV, but a little over 266 mil. So they have some room. They have a little less than $7 million of room. So if Hamels is willing to take like a really small deal, then yeah, I'd welcome it as just another option. But I want to see what those depth guys can give the Padres. See what the Padres have there. JT Snod asks, if Snell starts slow, do you see a possible trade? Since there seems to be no interest in an extension. Um, no, I don't see a trade happening because Blake Snell, we know that if he starts slow, that doesn't mean he's going to be slow the entire year. Am I going to be irritated that he's starting slow? Probably. Are other Padres fans going to be irritated that he's starting slow? Probably, because we know that he has a lot of talent, and we just want to see that consistently. But we also know that he pitches better in the second half of the season, and the real Blake Snell comes out like the maybe not the yeah the real Blake Snell, the better version of Blake Snell comes out as the season progresses. And the Padres, they're trying to win it all, right? They're trying to go all in. So you don't trade a guy that can really help you in the postseason, a guy that can have a 13 strikeout game in September as you're going into the postseason. You don't trade that just because he has a slow start when he's had a slow start, what, every year that he's been a Padre, right? It's not like it's not, it would be one thing if the slow start was something that was consistent in a full season. That's not what I see from Blake. I see the slow start being a slow start, not a slow season in full. They could get something back, but I think you're hurting the team if you trade Snell. Ryan with the question here, is Honeywell a power pitcher? Excuse me. He does have velocity, but he does have a nasty, what is it, a forkball? Is that what it is? Or it's a he's known for one major pitch. I'm looking that up right now. Um, Screwball. I think the screwball is his big pitch. I think. I think that's what it is. I might be wrong, but I think that's the pitch where he was using that in the futures game and striking out like Vlad Jr. He's striking out everyone with that. That's his like really key. That's the pitch that like separates him. So for me, with him, it's about him being healthy. I can't wait to see him pitch in spring training with the Padres. Irie says, "How about bringing back Luke Voigt for $1 million to back up Jake? Play some DH. Cruz is a dinosaur. It's going to be DH and sub for right field. Matt Carpenter is a dinosaur. I don't think Cruz is going to be playing the outfield at all. Um, if you're going to have him sub for the outfield, just go use Adam Engel or David Dahl or Jose Zokar. Like, yeah, Cruz is going to be DHing. Like that's what he's doing. Carpenter would be playing maybe some outfield before Tatis returns. He'll play first base when Crony's at second base against some tough righties. If they don't want Kim in the lineup, I don't see Voit coming back right now, at least, because it doesn't fit. They have two DHs with Carpenter and Cruz. They have Carpenter that can play first base, which is what Voit could do if he came. Carpenter could play first if Cronenworth's not playing there. They have Cronenworth at first base, obviously. So I don't see Voit as a fit. Cruz took up that spot. So Voit can go start some places for like rebuilding teams. Probably he could go start somewhere. I don't know where right now. I could probably do research on that in a little later at some point, but he would have a bigger role elsewhere, definitely. Gil says plan A is to trade for another frontline starter, which hasn't happened yet. Well, yeah, I mean, for like when we're looking like down the line for the World Series, yeah, you'd want another starting pitcher, frontline starter. But the plan A for the Padres, AC's talking about the plan A and plan B for right now, like going into the season. Going into the season, the Padres plan A, I don't think is a frontline starter. I think they do want to see what Honeywell and what Kinnear and Weathers and Groom, what they have, Morhone. I think that is their plan A going into the year. Now, before the trade deadline, plan A is not the depth. Plan A is going and getting a frontline starter if things aren't working out. Yeah, I agree with that, Gil. But AC's talking about the plan A being what's their plan going into the season. They don't need that frontline starter right now. You need that before the trade deadline if it's clear that that's what the Padres need, that's what it looks like they need right now. Yeah, La Pampera Baseball TV says Honeywell was pumping 97.99 in the Dominican Winter League. Yeah, I mean, he had an ERA like under 2, I think, in the Winter League. So when he's staying healthy, he pitches well. He has high upside. He just has to stay healthy. Like, I was talking to or messaging back and forth with one of the A's beat writers, Martin Gallegos. He MLB.com, I believe, is where he writes. And I was just asking about Honeywell earlier this offseason, and he was just saying, like, it's health. Like, when he was pitching, he liked what he saw. It was just the health. That's what it was. All right. I think that's going to do it here at Talking Friars, episode 336. My first opening day roster prediction. I'll probably have a couple more as spring training progresses, maybe after a move is made, right before rosters are announced. I'll make that prediction, obviously, probably then. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in here on this Monday. Thank you so much for the support. Seriously, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And have a great rest of your day, everyone. Go Padres. See ya.